Are we live? Is there anybody there yet? I don't know if I can see any comments. Hello, everyone. This is Richard with His Electric, and we are here today to celebrate lots of things in life and be thankful for all that I have been given. God has done some wonderful things in my life. And because He blesses me in so many ways is why I try to do giveaways and I do other things through different places. And I just usually don't get on here and talk about a lot of things, but we like to do good when the opportunity arises. So we're going to be doing 2 Ring giveaways. We're going to give away 2 Ring Doorbell Pros, and we're going to draw for them, or my little munchkin's going to draw for them. But I wanted to share a little testimony. Had some good news recently, and it was like more than I could ever have hoped for in life, and never really dreamed possible. Things that God has done for me is so cool. So I want to share a little background info on me. Most people don't know much. A lot of my customers do know my testimony, because that's just one thing I've never been ashamed of, is where God has taken me out of and what He's put me into is amazing. I have a family. You'll get to hear just a little bit. I was born in Detroit, Michigan. I grew up in the suburbs up there, around Ann Arbor, Ypsilanti area. Went to high school in Ann Arbor. Started when I was young, smoking weed when I was about 9. Smoking weed with my dad when I was 12. And by the time I was 15, I tried cocaine for the first time with my dad. And when I was 16, I was a crack addict, dropped out of school, and I was living on the streets up there in Michigan. This was in the middle of the 80s when the crack boom hit up there really big, and it seemed like everybody was doing it. And I jumped right in, and it took a hold of me, and I ended up doing things up there, getting in trouble, had to leave Michigan when I was 16, went to Nashville, Tennessee. And it was not to pursue a singing career, I can tell you that. It was just some place where I randomly ended up. I ended up in Tennessee and tried to do good. I was 17 at the time. I turned 18 while I was in Tennessee. And did good for a little while, then got back into the drug scene, of course. And got back in, did the same thing there, got in some trouble, ended up joining a carnival when I was 17. And traveled the U.S. for the next 7 years. And been all over, got to see a lot of neat places, but mostly it was just running from my past and the places I'd been, the people that I'd hurt through my actions in life, and so easily place to hide was the carnival. I ran and ran and ran. I was never in the same place very long for anybody to really get to know me, which was perfect for me because I was so lost in addiction that I used everybody and took advantage of everything that came in front of me. All this ended in, I'd say 1998. I never grew up with Jesus. I never went to church. Family really didn't. My grandparents went to church. We never really went with them except for like Easter, Christmas, things of that nature. Dad pretty much had the idea that, all preachers just want your money. They ride around in Cadillacs and with big gold on and stuff, which was what he saw up there in Detroit. There was a lot of them that were like that. And unfortunately, there are, wolves among the sheep. The Bible tells us that. You just got to watch the message. Don't look at the man, look at the message. And so anyway, I stopped off with a fair in Oklahoma one time and met a girl here. Ended up quitting the carnival when I was 24, and I came back to try to do, everybody ran away and joined the carnival. I wanted to run away from the carnival and join a life. Because what I've been living really wasn't no life. I was checked myself into rehab when I was 19. There was a little time in there when I wanted to try to clean up, but it didn't last long because I was missing one key ingredient to sobriety. I'd never met Jesus yet. And, but I did, and it's been really cool since. But anyway, so I came back to Oklahoma, lived in Muskogee, and started working at a store and doing good. Wanted to try to do a family thing, and drugs came along again. So I was like, yeah, I can just do it a couple times. I'm good. Well, it was more than just a couple times. I ended up getting a felony conviction. I stole a money order from the place I worked at for $250. Cashed it with my own ID. I was so far gone, I just didn't care about consequences at that time. It was all about where I was getting high next. So I sat in the county jail for 2 months and got a 2-year deferred sentence. Got out. 2 weeks later, got arrested again for shoplifting. It's grand larceny, under $500 at a grocery store. Got out. I got arrested once again. I was in a stolen car, although the other guy took the blame for it. I knew it was stolen, and I knew what we were doing was wrong. But they let me out on that one, and I went back to the streets where I almost died a couple of times, OD'd in a couple abandoned houses. And I was down to about 125 pounds at that time, I think. I was living in the streets, abandoned houses, eating out of dumpsters. I had nothing. And I got arrested for shoplifting again, which was my third strike. And went to jury trial in Muskogee, Oklahoma, and got convicted and got 20-year sentence. So off to prison I go with a drug habit. No idea what's going on in life, man, and I'm totally screwed up. So I get to prison, and of course I want to be one of the cool guys. I want to hang out with all the guys that are getting in trouble. And of course, when you hang out with bad company, it's going to corrupt your morals. But I didn't really have many morals at that time anyway, and I was easily led astray by people. I was more of a follower at that time. I was just following the wrong thing. Once I switched directions and started following what I need to, life began to get better. So at this time, I'm in prison, and I'm just getting in trouble left and right. And next thing you know, 10 years have passed on this 20-year sentence, and I have no good time on a nonviolent first-time offender. And I get caught with some weed while I was in prison. They put me in the hole, told me they were going to give me 5 more years added to my sentence. And of course, there was a lot of things in between that led up to this point. You know what I mean? Came close to spending the rest of my life in prison if it wasn't for the grace of God, who I didn't even know at the time. He closed the door on me that didn't allow me to do something that would have ended up ruining my life forever. And God had another plan, and it wasn't for me to spend the rest of my life in prison. I can guarantee you that. But anyway, while I was in the hole, they tell me they're giving me 5 years. And at that point, I was broken. I was sick of my life. I was sick of what I've been getting. And when the guards brought me my property, there was a Bible in there, and I never owned a Bible. And I grabbed that Bible, and I just started bawling. And I was like, God, if you're real, I need help. I can't do this anymore. I'm sick of getting what I've been getting, and I don't know what else to do. And I just prayed. I started reading the New Testament because I knew that's where Jesus was, and I'd heard of Jesus along the way. Because there's a lot of people that will come into the jails and preach to you, and even though you might go to church for the wrong reasons and just to meet other people, you hear things and it gets into you. There are seeds that were planted in me along the way, and they finally took hold. And every day I prayed for God to take the anger, the hatred, and all this bitterness that I had inside of me, because it was just eating me up and destroying me, and I was getting in a lot of trouble behind all of that, and kept me in there that long. I ended up getting shipped to another penitentiary. I got 5 years added onto my sentence. I ended up going to a Joseph Hart Correctional Facility in Oklahoma, where God began to disciple me. I ended up going through evangelism courses. People that I knew there before were Christians, and they were teaching me and reading the Bible with me and doing things. And it was like, man, I began to feel once I gave my life to Jesus that this weight had been lifted off of me. I quit getting high because I was doing drugs in prison. I mean, there was as many as there was on the streets. And don't let anybody tell you any different. It's just more expensive in there. You can get anything you want inside of a prison. And my drug addiction continued to flourish in there as well. But once I accepted Jesus into my heart and I began to realize and understand the power of His forgiveness, I didn't need to get high anymore. I didn't need it, because the shame and the regrets of all my past actions were nailed to the cross, and Jesus cast them as far as the east is to the west. And He saved my life. And not long after that, they told me I would never go to minimum security. They said I would do all my times in mediums or higher in security because of all the trouble I've been in. 6 months later, they come tell me to pack my stuff. I'm going to minimum security. And it's only by the grace of God. I don't know what happened, but I know that God's timing is perfect. He put me into a place where I was able to graduate from Victory Bible Institute out of Tulsa. They used to do classes there. It was a year-long class going 6 hours a day. And so I got a degree in that. Just started pastoring the inmate services. We started preaching and teaching and seeing people get saved. And I mean, I'm telling you, God is moving inside those places. And it's really cool to watch the power of God at work in the lives of people that are in despair, and the people that are hopeless, and the people that just have no future, no nothing outside of Jesus, and they don't realize it. When they see how God good is, even in the midst of a storm like that, God can put peace upon you, and He can surround you, and He can protect you, and He can keep you safe, and He can bless you. I got out of prison in December 1st of 2011. I went to a work center, and I went to a halfway house, and it was funny because when I was at the halfway house downtown Oklahoma City, I was washing dishes at Crabtown, making $8 an hour, and that was more money than I'd ever made in my life. Carnival was miserable pay, and I did that for 7 years, and I didn't really make any money. We were just allowed, we could hustle, and that was how we made our money, off the town people out of every town we learned to hustle off of. And so I'm just praising God, washing dishes, man, thankful, and I got involved with Living Faith Ministry out of Oklahoma City. And God used those people instrumentally to develop me in the character of a godly man and put me where I'm at today. If it wasn't for the people through that ministry helping me and holding me up even when I couldn't walk on my own, that I wouldn't be here where I am today. But I was sitting in the director's office one day. I was still in prison, but I was getting ready to transition there. And he asked me, what do you want to do with your life? You know, you can't wash dishes forever. You know, that's not a career job. And I'm like, man, I don't know. I've never done nothing but the carnival. And so I'm looking at a MetroTech catalog, and I see an electrician in there. And I was like, man, you know, I might could do electric. I did some when I was, you know, on the carnival. We did a couple things, you know what I mean? And so I wasn't afraid of it. And so I went into his office. I sat down across the desk from him, and we were talking about it. And I'm like, man, maybe I'd be an electrician, you know what I mean? And during our conversation, the phone rings. He picks it up and answers it, and it is an electrical contractor calling him to ask him if he's got anybody that he would recommend as an apprentice. The guy hired me right there over the phone. I mean, that's a God deal right there. I excelled in every aspect of residential electric that we did, new construction. And I did service. We did the commercial. I ended up actually being a foreman while I was an apprentice on the Devon Tower. I worked for the union. I learned a lot from them, working on the hospital builds and doing service work and all this other, every aspect of electric I had experience in. And then I got laid off, and I got married in this time. I had a beautiful wife, Molly. She's over here feeding our son because he's starving, otherwise he would be over here throwing a fit. And I met a beautiful woman during this time. You know, it hadn't been real easy when I first got out because I had to transition, and there was a lot of junk in me from being incarcerated for 14 years that God needed to strip away, that I think was a normal that's really not normal out here. So God had a lot of work to do. He had to put a lot of people in my life, you know what I mean, to help me along the way, but He did, and He was faithful this whole time. And I'll be married coming up in October. I believe it was 7th, isn't it? We got it wrong last year. We were both off on the date. And I just know that I'm married to a wonderful woman, and I've got a beautiful 2-year-old son that y'all kind of watched grow up here drawing letters for me, or drawing names for me. But I started all that to say this, you know what I mean? I never really thought much about it. I heard a testimony of a guy one time who had been through similar, you know, went to prison, got out, and filed for a pardon with the governor, and actually got it. And I'm thinking, man, this might be something cool to try. You know, I mean, maybe God's got that for me, maybe He doesn't, but it's, you know, I want it. And so I applied at the beginning of the year, and with Michael Risley, great attorney, did a good job, would recommend him. We went in this past Monday in front of the Pardon and Parole Board. It took about 9 months to get there, and sat down. And because they looked over your record, and they were like, well, you know, and they asked my attorney, because they pretty much do the talking for you, because they don't want you to mess up if you get nervous or something, which I didn't mind. I would have told my story to them. But he told them that my sobriety was caused by my faith, and that is correct. God is the source of everything in my life. My joy, my happiness, my family, the love that I have for them, is I'm only able to give them because of the love that He has for me. And because I tried it on my own, and they got me 14 years in prison. But once I started doing it God's way, then I got out of prison. I excelled. I got my own business now. His Electric has been in business for over 3 years now. And we don't get rich, but we get opportunities to do good. There's a lot of people out there that we bring light into their dark places, literally and figuratively. We get to go into houses of people that maybe never get to go to church, people that have been hurt by church, or people that never go to church or don't believe in God. We get to go in there and we let our light shine. We don't put baskets under us when we go in to do service work. You know what I mean? Sometimes I miss it, I'm sure, but I try to be attentive to what the Spirit's leading me to do and pray with customers, talk to customers, speak a good word into them. Sometimes people need blessings, you know what I mean, other than words, and we try to meet needs with people along the way, whatever it be, with electric work or you name it, you know what I mean? Or sometimes people just want to sit down and have a cup of coffee with you and just talk about life, you know, and we get opportunity to do that on a daily basis, and that's what makes this fun when I go to work. You know, I'm not getting rich monetarily, but man, the treasures in heaven that God's got stored up, and I'm excited to get there and hear, well done, good and faithful servant. So, but anyway, I went up before the parole board, and I got all 5 votes in unanimous decision to grant me a pardon, which would not only, I'm justified in God's eyes, but this would make me justified in man's eyes, and that would be just as if I never sinned. Even though I know that God's forgiven me and all is good, but just this one thing, man, I never dreamed about it. You know, I mean, I always thought, man, I'm just going to have this with me for the rest of my life, and now it's going to be gone. And this is all just God's doing right here, man. He is such a wonderful God, and I give him thanks. And I had to tell this because God says, if you don't praise me, I'll get the rocks to praise you. And I swear no rock's going to praise God louder than me. And but anyway, enough of that. I'm blessed. Bo Brooks, come on, Bubby, I need you to draw a name for me. Come here, bring your pizza. He's still eating pizza. That is a pizza-eating machine right there. I thought I could eat a lot of pizza. This little boy can eat some pizza. All right, Bubba, you got to draw a name. This is Molly. This is my wife, Molly, and this is my son, Bo. Pull a name out. One name, baby. He's gotten so good. I remember when he could never even do that. Okay, Wilma Bowers is the winner of the first Ring doorbell. Wilma Bowers, if you're watching, send me a PM message. If not, I'll find you later on and I'll send you one. All right, Bubba, we got one more to draw. Get one more. Good job. Man, you got good.
Good job, Bubba.
The next one is Lisa Bloomberg Wall. Lisa Bloomberg Wall, congratulations, you two, on winning the Ring doorbells. If you're local, hit me up. We'll bring it over for you, and we'll put it on as long as you got everything in place. We can take your old doorbell off. We'll put it on. I'm in Edmond, Oklahoma. So if you're in Edmond, I'll come hook you up for free. But outside of Edmond, I'll get your address, and I will mail it to you. I want to thank everybody for playing. And I even got my dog in this life, you know. I went from eating out of a dumpster and living in an abandoned house to a beautiful home with a wonderful family. I tell you, God is good, man. And there is nobody that is out of reach, man. God can touch anybody's life. I want to thank y'all for playing, and we look forward to many more opportunities to do good. Thank y'all, and God bless. I'm going to go eat some pizza.